when grief becomes a megaphone, turning tragedy into transformation. I want to start by telling you about a woman whose name needs to be etched into your memory. Her name is Angelique Paige, and if you haven't heard of her yet, you're about to understand why her voice, her mission, and her refusal to let tragedy have the final word are reshaping how we talk about bullying, gun violence, and the power of a mother's love turned into action. Angelique lost her 14-year-old son, Vernon Edens Jr., to gun violence that erupted from bullying. And instead of letting that unimaginable grief consume her, she built a megaphone out of it. She founded vernonslight.org, a nonprofit dedicated to spreading awareness, preventing violence, and saving lives. She's not just surviving her pain, she's weaponizing it for good. And today I'm sharing what she taught me, what she's teaching all of us about how we transform the unbearable into the unstoppable. Because here's the thing, we live in a world that loves to tell Black women to be strong, to hold it together, to carry everyone else's burdens while our own backs are breaking. But Angelique Page is showing us something different. She's showing us that strength isn't just endurance, it's also action, it's also awareness, it's also refusing to let your child's name be forgotten in a statistic. And if you're listening to this on the Soft Girl Era podcast, you already know we're about dropping that superwoman cape, about learning to be soft in a world that taught us survival. But here's what Angelique reminded me during our conversation. Sometimes softness and strength aren't opposites. Sometimes the softest thing you can do is let yourself grieve. And the strongest thing you can do is turn that grief into a movement. So let's talk about what happens when bullying isn't just mean words, when it escalates into something deadly, when our babies, our Black babies, are caught in the crossfire of cruelty and guns. And let's talk about the mothers, the warriors who refuse to let that be the end of the story. Angelique's message is clear. Bullying can escalate to deadly gun violence, and we cannot afford to ignore the signs. Early intervention saves lives. That's not a slogan, that's a lifeline. And it's backed up by story after story of mothers who saw the warning signs too late, who begged schools to act, who watched their children suffer in silence until silence turned into gunfire. Let me tell you about Latatia Aaron, a Black mother in Chicago who lost her 14-year-old son, Makey James, in 2019. Makey was bullied relentlessly at school, taunts, fights, the kind of daily torment that chips away at a child's spirit until they're vulnerable, exposed, desperate. Latasha reported it over and over and over and over. The school did nothing until one day the bullying escalated into a fatal shooting. McKeown was gone, and Latasha was left with a grief so heavy it could have crushed her. But instead, child, she founded Miki's Way, a nonprofit dedicated to anti bullying policies and youth counseling. She partnered with the Chicago Police Department. She launched awareness campaigns that reached over 10,000 students. And she didn't stop until she secured school district policy changes that reduced bullying incidents by 25% in partner schools. She influenced Illinois legislation on school bullying reporting. She turned her son's death into a shield for other children. That's what Angelique Paige is doing too. That's what vernonslight.org is about. And here's the second truth Angelique shared with me. You can turn personal tragedy into communal action. Grief doesn't have to be a dead end. It can fuel purpose. It can birth nonprofits. It can mobilize communities. It can change laws. Think about Toya Graham. You might remember her. The Baltimore mother who went viral in 2015 during the Freddie Gray riots when she confronted her son in the streets. That moment was raw. It was real. It was a mother saying, "Not my child, not today." But what you might not know is that Toya's activism didn't start or end there. She'd been watching bullying fueled gun deaths claim Black youth in her community for years, and she pivoted that viral moment into organized change. She supported groups like Be More United for anti violence education. She spoke at national forums. She trained over 5,000 parents. And in the areas where her work took root, youth homicides dropped by 30%. 30%. That's not just a number, that's lives, that's futures, that's mothers who didn't have to bury their babies. And then there's Cleopatra Pendleton Cowley. She lost her 15-year-old daughter, Hadia, to stray gunfire in 2013. Hadia had been bullied at school, and that bullying exposed her to dangerous crowds, made her vulnerable in ways no child should be. She was gunned down in a park, and Cleopatra's grief could have ended there, but it didn't. She founded Hadia's Promise, a nonprofit that led marches, influenced the Obama era My Brother's Keeper initiative, and mobilized over 50,000 people. She marched to Washington, D.C. She secured federal funding. She embedded anti bullying programs into federal gun violence prevention efforts. Her voice became a thunderclap against silence. These women, Latakia, Toya, Cleopatra, and Angelique Paige, they're not just mothers. They're architects of change. They're proof that when you take your pain and pour it into purpose, you don't just heal yourself, you heal communities. But here's the third thing Angelique wants you to know: every one of us has a role in awareness. You don't have to lose a child to care. You don't have to be a mother to act. You just have to be willing to talk about it, fund it, live it. Positive change starts with you. And I know some of you that listening are thinking, but Leanne, I'm tired. I'm already carrying so much. I'm in my soft girl era. I'm trying to rest. I'm trying to say no without guilt. I'm trying to protect my peace. And I hear you. I see you. But here's what I learned from Angelique Paige: protecting your peace doesn't mean ignoring the world's pain, it means choosing where you pour your energy. And sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is contribute to a cause that's bigger than your own survival. Visit vernonslight.org, donate, volunteer, share the mission, have one tough conversation with a young person in your life about bullying's deadly link to guns. That's it. That's the ask. Not to carry the whole movement, just to be a part of it. Because here's what happens when we stay silent, when we ignore the signs, when we let schools brush off bullying as kids being kids, when we let gun access go unchecked, when we let our babies suffer alone. They die. And their mothers, like Angelique, like Latakia, like Toya, like Cleopatra, they're left to pick up the pieces and turn them into something that might, just might, save the next child. And I want to be clear: this isn't about guilt. This isn't about adding one more thing to your already overflowing plate. This is about awareness. This is about recognizing that the soft girl era, the era of rest and boundaries and self love, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. We rest with so we can rise. We heal so we can help. We protect our peace so we have the strength to fight for others when it matters. Angelique Paige told me something during our interview that I can't stop thinking about. She said, this is my new normal, and it always will be, creating positive change in our world. Not because she wants to, but because she has to, because Vernon's life mattered, because every Black child's life matters. Because if she doesn't speak up, who will? And that's the question I'm leaving you with today. If not you, who? If not now, when? You don't have to start a nonprofit. You don't have to march on Washington, but you do have to care. You do have to act, even if it's small, even if it's just one conversation, one donation, one share, one moment where you choose awareness over apathy. Because the truth is, we're all connected. Your child, my child, Angelique's child, they're growing up in the same world. A world where bullying can turn deadly, a world where gun violence is an epidemic, a world where Black mothers are burying their babies at rates that should make us all weep. And if we don't do something, if we don't spread awareness, if we don't intervene early, if we don't support the Angelique Pages of the world who are out here fighting, then we're complicit in the silence. And I don't know about you, but I'm done with silence. I'm done with pretending that if I just focus on my own healing, my own softness, my own boundaries, that the world will magically fix itself. It won't. It takes all of us. It takes you. Here's what I need you to understand. Vernon Eddins Jr. was not just a statistic. He was a son, a brother, a friend, a child with dreams and a future that was stolen. And Angelique Paige refuses to let his death be meaningless. She's out here every single day, making sure that other mothers don't have to feel what she felt, making sure that other children don't have to endure what Vernon endured. And she's doing it with grace, with fire, with a determination that should inspire every single one of us to do better. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: we've normalized bullying, we've accepted it as a rite of passage, we've told kids to toughen up, to ignore it, to handle it themselves. And in doing so, we've created a culture where cruelty festers until it explodes. And when it does, it's not just words anymore, it's bullets, it's funerals, it's mothers like Angelique standing over graves that should never have been dug. So, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to keep scrolling past the headlines? Are we going to keep shaking our heads and saying, what a shame, and then moving on with our day? Or are we going to recognize that this is our problem, that these are our children, that this is our responsibility? I'm challenging you today to make a choice. Choose awareness, choose action, choose to be the person who says enough, who shows up, who speaks out, who refuses to let another child become a hashtag. Go to vernonslide.org, learn Vernon's story, donate if you can, volunteer if you're able, share the mission with someone who needs to hear it, and then have that conversation with your child, your niece, your nephew, your student, your neighbor. Talk about bullying, talk about guns, talk about the deadly intersection of the two, and talk about how we stop it. Because Angelique Paige is out here being the light Vernon would want. And we can be that light too. We can honor Vernon and Mickey and Hadia and every Black child lost to this violence by refusing to let their deaths be in vain, by spreading awareness, by creating positive change, by being the generation that says, enough. I want you to feel something right. I want you to feel the weight of this, the urgency of it. But I also want you to feel the hope, because there is hope. It lives in every mother who turns her grief into action. It lives in every community that rallies around a cause. It lives in every single person who decides that they're not going to be a bystander anymore. Angelique Paige is a beacon, and so are you. So let's honor Vernon. Let's honor every child we've lost. Let's honor the mothers who turned their grief into movements. And let's be the change, not tomorrow, not someday, today, because this is our new normal. And it always will be, creating positive change in our world together. And it starts right now with you making the choice to care, to act, to be the light this world so desperately needs.